Hi, honey.
Hey, beautiful.
Oh, that was sweet of you.
Well, you look beautiful. You look really beautiful.
Oh my God, you're so sweet. Well, you look handsome too.
Thank you. Whenever we're watching the podcast back, I'm always like, man, I look good.
You do say that.
Like the lighting looks great in here. My arms always look really jacked.
You're like, I look so muscular and strong. Look at me.
But then
especially when you had your cornrows, you were like, you couldn't stop staring at yourself.
But that's when we're watching it, and
Yeah.
every time I pull it up into the editor, you're always like top right.
Yeah.
And you're always like, got this big smile on your face and like the freeze frame. And the first thing I always go is, she's so beautiful. I go, oh, my poozle. She's so beautiful.
Oh my
every
God,
time.
you're so
Every
cute.
time. It's true. I really do. And then when we're watching it, my attention, of course, diverts to me. And I'm like watching every move and every word that I make. And I go, oh my God, how are you going to explain this? And then I'm usually like, man, you explained that really well. That's pretty cool. And I also go, and you look so fucking handsome too. You look handsome when doing it too.
No, and you do say like when you're watching, you're like, please make this point. Please make this point. You're like talking to yourself on the screen to make sure you make the point.
And I'll be like, I landed it. Hell yeah, I landed it.
But it is becoming so natural in here, isn't it?
It's becoming far more natural. We never did a lot of preparing, but I've said before, like we usually came in with like a general topic, and then you would write the questions, and I didn't really know what those questions were, but more over the last several weeks, we've come in with like a lot less, where it's not even like a really formed topic. It's just like, let's talk about X.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh.
And like things that happen like throughout the week,
Yeah.
we kind of like, we're like, oh, we can like dive into that and build on that.
Yeah.
And then like we did last week, I kind of am like losing track of like which episodes we're at, but like if we're in a meeting and like using it as like a debrief, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Seeing the inner workings of your brain.
Yeah, and I was like, this is the one thing I think throughout the course of my week where, like, leading up to it, I get like some butterflies and jitters. Actually, that's not true. Right before I go and I do like a really heavy squat day or a really heavy deadlift day, but like usually that's like in the car on the way. Like I take my creatine and I'm like, oh shit, I got to put all that weight on my back. Like this sucks. And I usually have like a little bit of butterflies there. But with this, and I've mentioned this a few times, it's like now it's like I got to be really on point. I want to make good points. I want to communicate well. I want to be articulate. I want to like have well-formed thoughts and be able to communicate clearly. And that like kind of throughout the course of the day leading up to recording this, I have like those butterflies in my stomach, and it's kind of like fun, to have something that like is a little bit nerve wracking on a weekly basis, but it's been great. I love it. It's like so much fun.
And it's like, obviously just a pressure you put on yourself. Cause like
Yeah.
you love to talk and like
Yeah.
have a conversation. But I think like you said, like putting that pressure on yourself to make sure it's like, your points are being made. You're being articulate with it. So, but you're doing great, honey.
No, thank you.
You're doing great.
I mean, well, one of the reasons why is because like we have a lot of people now who listen to it and bring it up to us, and they'll.
We were with people on Wednesday night.
Yeah.
And for 4th of July, we were celebrating 4th of July the night before, on Lake Austin for the fireworks. And our friends were like, we have 15 minutes left of the spiritual episode. I was like, it just like was put out like
it was
today.
like just a few hours ago.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I love it. And I love it, and that's so cool. But like that also means like if I'm putting something out there, I want it to be good. I want it to be right. I want to be proud of what I'm releasing, and not just proud of like the end final product, but I want to make sure that what I'm saying is clear and is actually helpful and useful. And I mean, I've certainly said some things on here that are a little spicy or like controversial or have rubbed people the wrong way, and I get that. And like,
has anyone said anything to you about rubbing?
That's the funniest part. Is like very few people have like everybody's been really positive. There's been very, very few people who have been negative in any way, although I know that there's some people who took some things the wrong way.
But like I kind of also think like people who probably have watched this and been like, oh, like wants to like maybe say something negative, that's like, well, no, we're kind of just saying the truth, so maybe they just of course don't want to confront that. Teach their own.
And there's a difference between saying something that like I would never. I just want to know that if I say something that is controversial, that I stand behind it, and that I said it correctly, and that I wasn't. Things get tricky people take certain words very, very differently, and I'm very
for sure.
specific in the words that I choose. And, it's easy to go back and like, edit yourself, like if you're having a conversation with somebody, especially if they're like challenging you in some way, which I always appreciate. But if it's just like me speaking to a camera, something can go out there. And then I don't want to be sitting on my couch when we're doing our timestamps and have something like where I go, oh, that's not what I meant, and that's not going to come across good. But that hasn't happened yet, so that's the good news.
Yeah, you've done a great job so far, honey.
And you were just talking about the fact that we were on a boat with our friends on Wednesday night. So it's Friday now. Yesterday was the 4th of July. And on the 3rd of July, we were invited on a boat with some friends of ours. They are listeners. And we one of the chores that I was given, I did.
Originally, the chores was supposed to be given to the ladies. Because women know how to prepare food, I guess, or gather food for an event.
Well, they do.
I know. I was like, I have no time to go to the grocery store.
But I will say, Erica is out there.
Yes.
Erica's listening. She did put together one hell of a charcuterie board. So
yes, she brought like everything to the boat, set up the board on the boat, and then like
oh really? I didn't know
she had all the things, like all the fixings, like in the cooler. And then she like recovered everything, put it all away. I was like, okay.
We got on the boat to like a lovely charcuterie board, like fully laid out and displayed.
On Lake Austin, like outside the country club, ready for the fireworks. I was like, okay,
and
that's nice.
I guess like first off, I forced myself onto the boat. I was basically a pirate.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
By the way,
I pirated the boat. I was like, I said to our friend Brian last week, I was like, I'm coming on your boat for the 4th of July weekend. I like just commandeered it more or less. And then he said, okay, bring food. And then the one rule was no Cheetos, because I guess I looked like the kind of guy who obviously is going to show up to a boat with Cheetos.
Well, no, you said in the group text, I'm going to the grocery store, like any specific request. And he's all seriousness was like, anything you want to bring except for like messy snacks like Cheetos. It's like it makes a hell of a mess on the boat. And I was like, and of course I had to be like, Cheetos, I'm not like, no Cheetos, I'm not coming. Like, I want Cheetos. It
was a very odd rule. The only rule on his boat.
And then you found a Cheetos dust maker. It was like something that you like put. It was like a blender specifically to like make Cheetos dust. I'm like, how did you find this?
It was some like thing on Amazon that turns Cheetos into Cheeto dust.
But what did you Google?
I just literally went to Amazon and Googled. So like after he sent the text, I was like, what's the most absurd thing that I can like send back? So I just went on Amazon and I typed in Cheeto dust and I found like a thing that you push Cheetos into, and it turns into Cheeto dust.
Oh my god, I was dying laughing from that conversation.
But I ended up going to Whole Foods and just getting a bunch of sandwiches.
That like no one ate, unfortunately, because that charcuterie board was too good.
So then,
Thank you, Erica.
It was. I mean, it was the charcuterie. I think I was like housing that charcuterie board. The sandwiches unfortunately went. Well, they didn't fully go to waste because. Well, let's go through our next day.
Okay.
So we had a lovely night on the boat. Our friends invited us. We got to invite a few of our friends, and the Austin Country Club shoots off fireworks, I guess, on the 3rd of July. I didn't know that was a thing out by the 360 bridge. It was lovely. Beautiful. It was lovely. The weather was amazing. The company was great. Hell of a way to spend the night, for sure, especially leading into the holiday.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we didn't really do all that much for the 4th of July.
Which was like, I think going into the 4th of July, I'm like, okay, we'll do stuff, we'll get together with people, and I think like having that the night before was really like a little kickoff to it. That then when we woke up in the morning, we went like right to work. I kind of like went into like the July 4th with being like, it needs to be a day, like we need to sit down, be creative, talk about some changes and pivots that we're making with the business model, which like I was looking forward to all week. Like I couldn't wait to get to July 4th for the day off from like my work that we could spend like hours. And I think we woke up like 8 a.m. and like we were working till like 1:30, right?
We
woke up pretty early.
Yeah,
I mean, because
like
we didn't get on the run till like...
It's early, like after we got back from the boat really late. So I guess it was kind of early, but like, I mean, yeah, we got like to work immediately.
Yeah.
Woke up, had breakfast, got to work, which we'll talk about what we were working on. It's a continuation from the story from last week, I guess.
Yeah.
So that was great. Like, got tons done in the morning, like immediately. Went for a run, which was awesome. That was a challenge for you.
Oh my God.
Why don't you tell the story?
So it would typically be like my plyos day, which was like just my hit day. And so instead of going to the gym, I was like, oh, I'll go for a run with you. And 15 minutes into that run.
You haven't been running much at all?
No, I mean, with my plyos day, like, again, it's like an hour of cardio, but it's like minute on, minute off.
It's different. So like obviously running is like steady state cardio over a long period of time. Everybody knows what running is. I don't know why I'm explaining running, but like it was also 100 something degrees or whatever it was yesterday on the 4th of July.
At like 1:30 in the afternoon. It wasn't like morning sun.
And it hit like your plyos workout. Our plyos workouts are super intense. I genuinely will say like it doesn't get harder than that. I don't care what class you go to, Orange Theory or whatever. No offense to Orange Theory, but like nothing compares to our plyos days. I think they are like the hardest workouts that there are. I built them like specifically for that so that I can say that I do the hardest workout, harder than anybody else can put me through. But it is, like, to be fair, in the air condition of Lifetime Fitness downtown, which is, like, beautiful.
And, again, it's a minute on, minute off, like 7 exercises.
But it's intense and it's powerful.
It's intense.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's 45 minutes to an hour long. And I, again, decided, I'm like, okay, instead of doing my plyos at the gym, I'll go for a run with Jared. This will be nice. Come back, have the rest of the afternoon together. 15 minutes into this run, I was wishing I was at the gym doing plyos. I mean, I had to be like, Jared, I need to stop. And I brought a bottle of water with me.
Yeah.
And I was like drinking that, we stopped in the shade. And I was like, you can go ahead and
Which is very unlike you.
For sure, unlike me.
I want to be very clear about that. Like, I hold myself to a really high standard from a fitness perspective, and I think that's rubbed off on you to some extent. And we've worked out together a lot, and like it's not like this was like a super long run, but I think it's just you hadn't run in a while, and it was so hot. Like you definitely struggled considerably, and I was like pretty shocked to see it.
Yeah, and like the cardio aspect of it, I felt like good, but then like the overheating was what was getting me. And I actually like took the bottle of water and like poured it like over my head. And like the moment I started doing that, I was like, okay, like I think I'm just extremely overheated. So we stopped, then we start running again. Then I'm like,
well, hold on again. Like I want to say like stopping is,
I mean, it's
almost like I'm shocked that you even allowed yourself to stop. And because that's something that I know you don't do, I did take it like seriously.
Oh, for sure.
And I wasn't, not to say that I was like panicking or anything.
No.
Like I wasn't like I was like, oh wow, like you must really be hurting if you're gonna like say, hey, we have to stop in the shade over here.
Yeah, and even before the run, you're like, I think I'm going to be like a little too slow for you on this run.
I know.
And I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't run like outside, or I haven't run outside like at this time of day in a really long time. I always do morning runs.
People who listen to the podcast know I've started running like 4 months ago, like pretty regularly. So I've been doing this in the sun in the middle of the day. With my shirt off, like getting beat to shit from the sun. But I also do my walks, which are like well over an hour every single day in the sun with my shirt off. So like I've sort of tempered myself to the heat.
For sure.
I think in a pretty considerable way. Plus I've been doing the regular running.
Yeah.
So I will also say this. I've told people that I've been running and what times I've been running, and like everybody's like, you're crazy for doing that.
Yeah.
So it's not like what I'm doing. It's not like this was just like a regular old jog. Like it's midday Texas sun on the 4th of July. Like,
it was so hot. Oh my God. And I remember running across like the train tracks on the east side, and like the difference, like the temperature, I don't even know if you noticed it. The temperature difference of like when you're running over those tracks is like, I can't believe you don't feel it. When we were running over like between 5th and 6th Street, that little like train that like cuts through.
Yeah. What about it?
It's like significantly hotter. Like I remember like
on the train tracks. I have no idea.
The heat that like comes off of that is insane. I was like, oh my god.
Really? I have no idea. I've never noticed that whatsoever.
So yes, I stopped.
I don't know if that's a real thing.
No, for sure.
I'll keep an eye out now. Okay. Maybe.
So the first time I stopped, I was like, okay, drink some water. I'm good. And I was like, I'm sorry that I had to stop. And you're like, no, you're good. Like, you're fine. Take your time.
I was annoyed that I was a little, I will be honest, like I wasn't annoyed with you because I was like, I know that this is probably like serious if you have to stop because I've never known you ever to stop because we used to run a lot all the time and like you wouldn't. But I was like, I don't like to stop.
Yeah.
For myself. Because like I feel like I'm taking a break for myself even if I'm taking a break for you. And like that like bothers me a little bit. So again, I did stop and I wasn't like I want to be clear, like I wasn't like giving you a hard time about it. So
not
like,
at all.
but I know that you could probably see in my face, like I was like a little antsy because I was like, I don't like to take these breaks like while I'm running. Yeah.
So then I restarted running and then I don't even know. I couldn't even keep track of the time at that point. I was like, I said to you, I'm like, I need to stop again. And you're like, all right, let's go over to the shade.
Yeah.
So I stop, I'm drinking water, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm like, you can like, I'm interrupting like your run. Like you go ahead, like you run home. I'll get there. Like you go ahead. And you're like, no, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving you. I'm like, okay. I'm like, are you sure? Like I kept saying like, just go. And you're like, nope, I'm going to stay. Like, well, you're going to be fine. Like drink your water and like, we're going to keep running. You're going to finish this. I was like, okay. So we start running again. I had to stop again.
Yep.
And we like sat on the bench and I was like, I feel like I'm going to throw up.
These are like 3 stops in the course of like 5 minutes.
Yeah. I was like, I feel like so hot and like uncomfortable. So we took a little bit of longer break on that last leg. And you're like, I'm staying with you. I'm not going home. I'm not leaving. You're going to finish this run. And
no, what you said, just go. Like just finish it up and I'll meet you at home. And I said, I'm not leaving you, but you're finishing this.
Yeah. And you're like, it's a straight shot. And I was like, no, it's not. It's a left turn and then it's a straight shot. And I was like, don't tell me it's a straight shot. So, yeah, we started up the run again and I finished home with you by my side. And it was so nice. So I appreciate you for doing that.
I mean, again, I knew that you were not used to running. I knew that if you were going to stop and you stopped, especially stopping 3 times, like that's really very much not like you. And I knew that you were serious about it. I was upset that I had to stop just simply because like that's just like my own like weird like workout OCD kind of thing, which is like even if I'm stopping for it's like goes along with like kind of like my unfuckwithable thing, which is sort of like nothing stops you from like just continuing and like not breaking. And like I have a rule, like when I'm running, like I don't stop moving. Like I have that rule for myself. Like I'll never take a break. And like even if I bend down to tie my shoe, it like pisses me off. And I like add an extra like minute to my run just for tying my shoe. So like that kind of stuff like gets on my nerves for my own personal like selfish reasons, which are also ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then when you were like leave me, I was like there's simply no way I'm leaving you. I think that like in some cases like maybe there's some dudes who would have left.
Yeah.
Sure, okay. There's probably some guys that would have been like, and maybe this is like what I should have done. I don't know. I could have been like, oh no, don't worry. Like we'll just walk home from here, and then like we both like walk home together into the sunset. But like for me, it's kind of like you're gonna finish this. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving you, but we are both gonna finish this run. I'm not gonna let you like give up on this.
Yeah, and that's what like I would want and need is like because the entire that last half of that run and that especially that last like leg after that that last stop, I was like, I am finishing this. Like I'm putting it like if everything was to fall apart in my life if I do not make it home, like that's how my brain works.
Yeah.
I was like, then I need to make it home or else everything in my life falls apart. Like who is the Poozle that I want to be who would finish this run. And like that was my motivator. And then of course like you were next to me with it. So like, of course I had to finish. So it was beautiful. So I appreciate you for doing that.
Of course.
Of course.
I mean, I think I stand by like pushing you through it.
Yeah.
And I think it's the right thing to do. And it was honestly like, it made for like a fun day almost, like going through that challenge together, like what kind of made for like a little bit of fun. And then we, because I knew you weren't going to like die.
No, and that's the thing. I knew I wasn't going to either. And yeah, I just needed that like motivation and that person to like be by my side to push me through it.
Yeah.
So.
And then we kind of like went off and did our own thing for a little while for the 4th of July, because like we actually needed to get like additional chores and stuff done. So I guess we could have been like out at a pool grilling and eating hot dogs or whatever you're supposed to do on the 4th of July, but like we really just buckled down and got a lot done.
Yeah.
And then I had a brilliant genius idea.
Genius idea.
I think this is a genius idea.
I mean, perfect night.
The night before, we were heading to the boat, and I was like, I think that like ATX Cocina probably be a great place to like grab dinner and like get on their patio and like watch the fireworks outside. So I went on and I saw that they had a reservation left right at 9:15.
Yeah.
The fireworks were at like 9:30. So we went there last night out on the patio. We got like the perfect table looking out at the fireworks. It is a big tree, but it's like,
it was beautiful.
It's a big like sprawling tree, and like you could see clearly like through the tree. So like all the like literally across the street from the patio is where they light off the fireworks. So we were like underneath the fireworks, like drinking some wine and having
delicious
really
food.
Great, which we haven't been there in a little while,
Yeah.
and it was awesome. So that's how we spent our 4th of July. Then we came home and had sex and chilled. And went to bed.
Good. I know, and I felt like the people that were on the patio, there were some people that were enjoying it, but then like the majority of them, like there was a couple that was next to us and like holding their ears, and I was like, do y'all know where you are and what day it is? Like the fireworks go
there
up
was
across
a man,
the street.
hold on, just to be clear, there was a man sitting at a dinner table at like a nice restaurant,
like,
plugging his ears with his fingers like this.
And you and I are just like loving on each
and
other.
And like I guess it was his wife or his girlfriend or something. Like her and somebody else were like over taking pictures, and she walked back to the table and she goes, "Oh, are the fireworks hurting your ears?" And I was like, "Oh my God, Boo! If you ever saw me like plugging my ears like a little like 4-year-old kid, and you came back and you're like, are the fireworks hurting your?" I would be. Like I can't imagine being more of a being more of a bitch. I can't imagine being that much of a bitch.
It was, and then they were just like complaining the whole time, and I wanted to be like, "Do you know where you are? You made this reservation. Like you decided to be here."
But I mean,
it was weird.
Yeah, it was very strange.
And then they left, and we had the rest of the like pretty much patio to ourselves. It was nice. But anything else you want to say about the 4th of July?
So one thing that we did do is we took all those sandwiches from the boat the day before, and I was like, we'll just give them to homeless people. Like I was thinking that it would be a pretty. How often do you drive through Austin or walk through downtown Austin? You don't come across homeless people, and like we didn't come up to any of them. No. So I went to a vape store because I lost my vape. So I had to go in and get some batteries. So I gave some sandwiches to like the 2 kids that were working at the vape store or the smoke shop.
Yeah, you come out, you're like, 2 sandwiches. I was like, what? I'm like, you're offering sandwiches to the people in the vape store?
There wasn't any homeless people around for once.
There were some scary homeless. We had certain rules set
I had particular rules. It was that you have to be like you have to be like on my path. Like I'm not going to go out of my way. Also, you had to be cognizant.
Yes.
So there was a guy that was like sleeping passed out like behind a pillar, and I was like, he's not going to know that the sandwich is there, so like I don't know that the sandwich is going to get eaten. So like the first rule was that you had to be on my path to where I was going. Second rule was you needed to acknowledge the sandwich. And then I didn't have to come up with any other rules. You
wanted to get the thank you?
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
No. It was not about the thank you. It was just like knowing that like the person was aware enough to eat the sandwich and that like they weren't going to get up and like stammer off and the sandwich was going to like be sitting there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you had to be on my path. You had to acknowledge the sandwich. And then there was no other rules because those were...
And they also couldn't be scary because there were some...
Oh, yeah, they couldn't have bad energy. They couldn't be bad vibes
some
homeless
bad
people.
Energies.
They had to be good vibes homeless people. And you know the difference. People in Austin know the difference between the good vibes homeless people and the bad vibes homeless people. So we went from literally from Congress all the way down to ATX Cocina. Walking with a bag of sandwiches. The thing was that everybody was camped out for the fireworks, so everybody looked kind of homeless.
Are they homeless? No, I think they're just shirtless and hot. I don't know. Like, yeah, you obviously didn't want to be like, oh, here's a sandwich to someone who's like not homeless.
But there's a lot of people with that seemed to be camping out for the fireworks, so you couldn't really tell the homeless people from the not homeless people. But kept walking, and then eventually we got to ATX Cocina, and my initial reaction was just to put the bag down in front of the restaurant and walk off.
Yeah, just leave your bag of trash. Your sandwiches.
You said that's not acceptable.
The hostess was watching us, and you were about to just leave the bag in front of the place. I'm like, nope.
So we took it down to the corner. We put it on
top of
the garbage. And then when we left the restaurant later, that bag of sandwiches was gone. Yeah. So we would like to think that some very, very happy homeless people walked around talking about what a blessing our sandwiches were to them on the 4th of July.
For sure. And then, speaking of homeless, as we're standing at that cross street, do you remember we were standing there and that guy in front of us?
No.
And he's like, you don't want to get too close, and starts waving his hand in front of his
yeah. That was weird.
This homeless guy ripped ass in front of us.
Yeah, we were waiting at a it was that exact same corner. I totally forgot. We were waiting at a corner, walked up behind some dude, and I didn't realize he was homeless at first, but he definitely was. And he literally goes, he starts waving his hand behind his ass and goes don't get too close, might want to stand back. Okay.
Thanks for the warning.
Maybe it was our sandwiches.
So I'm oh God, gross. Hot cheese and mayo sandwiches.
All right, we are halfway into the episode and we haven't talked about anything.
We recapped.
We did quite a bit of recapping.
It was fun.
Talking about homeless people farting in our face.
But that's our life right now.
We said we would be really honest and transparent, and that's what our life has come to, is just homeless people farting in our face.
All right, anything else about the 4th of July?
No.
Okay, well then let's talk. I kind of talked a little bit about the meeting we had yesterday and the pivots we're making with our business model.
Yeah.
But I feel
more pivots,
but that's
I know.
What happens.
I actually like the pivots.
I like the pivots.
The pivots have been great every step of the way.
Yeah. But we have been discussing over the past episodes and kind of sporadically throughout. It's how the business was started, what it looked like, how it changed, and it's never been a very clear timeline of the evolution of the business model. So I feel we can take the next half of this episode and discuss that.
Yeah. I did realize I've had a handful of people who listen to the podcast ask questions about the process or my background or variety of things where I've realized I guess maybe we've talked a lot about our life in bits and pieces and chunks and sort of not really linearly, I guess, to some extent. Yeah. So it might make sense to sort of spell out where the business plan has started to where it's going, and then now more critically the change that we've come to in the last week or so. Yeah. Because we ended this last podcast coming out of a business meeting with somebody, and who was kind of is pushing us to get on the sales track a little bit sooner. I have hesitations about that for a variety of reasons. Some of my reasons I still hold are valid. Some of them I know are just my own personal internal blockers, but those blockers need to be torn down for myself in order to be as passionate about the project as I need to be successful with it. So we've made another adjustment here that I think is the best one yet.
Okay.
So
well, let's start with the initial idea.
Okay.
What was it? And like, when did you have the idea?
So I'm not going to go into any detail about like what happened in my mindset shift, because we've talked about that a lot. But one of the things that became really apparent to me really quickly back a few years ago was like, I need to get out of my career. It's financially rewarding for sure. It feels good to have the security of the position to some extent. It feels good to like have a big corporate, big boy job and a LinkedIn page that looks reasonable and respectable and blah, blah, blah. But like, that's not me, not who I wanted to be. And all the great things that came with it, I'm grateful for, and I'm happy that I have and have had. And the experience has left me with an immense amount of like skills and talent that I would never give up for anything, but just wasn't where I wanted to continue. So
you weren't aligned with it.
It wasn't aligned with it anymore.
Yeah,
and there was a certain friction that that eventually led me to believe, okay, this is something that I need to move away from. And we decided that we wanted to start a business of some sort. I had no idea what that was going to be, and started initially by looking at like various like franchises. Everything. I looked at like every kind of franchise, including like legitimately like a Dunkin' Donuts franchise too, which is just like funny to think about. Like I would never own a Dunkin' Donuts, but like, and I don't know. I was never really serious about opening a Dunkin' Donuts, but like it was something that I like looked into.
Yeah, and just knowing what the process was, what it looked like, even just the idea of like owning our own business.
Yeah, just like almost like exploratory. Yeah. As that process was narrowed down more and more, I realized really quickly that like, first off, owning a franchise there's a lot of benefits to it, but there's also like an immense amount of like restrictions that you're up against. And at the end of the day, those big corporations always end up winning anyway. So it's not to say that you can't be successful with a franchise. You absolutely can.
But like you're like capped, correct?
Yeah, well, you're not capped, but like they just, there's like siphoning money from the beginning, and like they give you like a really great outline and a great blueprint, so you're just like copying and pasting what everybody else has done, but you're also like, it's actually I don't want to talk shit about franchising, because I think that there's like a lot of value in a lot of them.
But it's just not for you. You don't want the copy and paste.
Yeah, I wanted to create something of my own. So realizing
very in line with you.
Realizing again, like, where is the value that I offer? Well, the value I offer is like first and foremost like the fitness and health stuff. That's what people always like came to me for. At least that's where I was seeing it, and that's how I understood it initially. It was like fitness, health, fitness. But the reality is people don't come to me just for like squats and deadlifts. People come to me because they see me as somebody who is disciplined and committed, and they want to be like held accountable. So that's like sort of where this obviously ends up going from a more coaching perspective, and also where we go with the business. But initially it was like, well, a gym makes sense then, right? So even looked at gym franchises, eventually again realized the franchised model isn't for me. And then I came up with a concept, which I still can't wait to build, because it's going to happen one day, and it's called Paradise Fitness. And the idea was like an open gym concept, not too different from like a Gold's, but like I wanted it to be like a local higher end Gold's gym. If anybody is familiar with like Coliseum over on the east side, my gut tells me that like Paradise Fitness probably would have been like that in terms of like its size and its offerings and like its cleanliness. It's like a local sort of high end, although like sort of done on a budget option. Sure. And it was going to be like 80s Miami theme. So like think Miami Vice with like palm trees and like neon turquoise and neon magenta, and like
the equipment be like all like beautiful, and
oh my gosh. I was gonna have like on like high end equipment, and I also wanted to make it where it's like, as much as it is a gym, it's also like fun and like a sort of like a social place as well. And we had all kinds of ideas for that, which we don't have to get into right now. that model, for a variety of reasons, like as I was working through it, just the size of the location that you need, the amount of equipment, all that, started to realize like, okay, like that, and just the way like the membership model works in that type of business economically doesn't make a ton of sense. So
you have to pivot.
So we had to pivot, and we went to a class-based model. So small group personal training. This is around the time, or I hired the Business of Strength guys to help me build Paradise Fitness, and they were the ones who really like steered me more towards the small group personal training model, because they were the ones who was like, that is you're looking at an exorbitant expenditure to get that up and running, do this other thing. So I needed to figure out like, well, and again, I don't want it to just be any other gym. I'm trying to do something different and special here. Yeah. So we needed to figure out what that looked like. What are we offering that's different from like any other gym in the area that people are going to like be drawn to? And we went out to Sedona, and during that trip, we had a great experience. We've talked about our Sedona trip here countless times. And I came back and I had the brilliant idea that the classes should be for couples.
Yeah, you like went out like you do. You went out on a walk because you went to Sedona, I think, also being like, I'm going to get it. I'm going to see it there. I'm going to see it there. Yeah. And so like when you left Sedona, you necessarily like didn't have it. So there was that like feeling you had that you're like, man, like I thought I was going to get clarity on that trip. I thought it was going to come to me. And then you came home, you went out for your walk, and like sure enough.
But I did like have a lot of other really cool moments and breakthroughs during that trip that like
probably helped.
It definitely like shook things up really well and like felt good. It felt like a positive experience. But I didn't necessarily get the answer I was looking for. And I'll contrast that with like my Tony Robbins experience where like that just like riled me up and I like came back feeling worse than I left, and then like the breakthrough happened after. This was like I had a great experience, but I didn't quite get what I wanted, and then once again like came home and like got the breakthrough, which was that the gym was going to be for couples, and it was for couples to work out together. And it was like going to be
because we
catered.
started that during COVID, and we felt like what a difference that made for us and the connection that it created for us. And you said that, I was like, yeah, that sounds perfect.
And it sounds like something that
like something we live and do every single day. So of course we can like replicate that.
Yeah. And then that continued to evolve where, well, I didn't really know what the market was for that. So with True Fitness and Focus, which is the name of the business and that was going to be the name of the gym. Yeah. It started to evolve where it's like, well, we can incorporate more of like the mindfulness practices, the meditation, the affirmations, and it evolved into being like the couples component, but also class. And have I talked about this before on the podcast? I think I have.
I think so, probably.
Where there's like classes that are focused on intentionality of movement, form, moving your body effectively, especially when you have an immense amount of weight on your back, like to be able to keep, like have weight on your back, focus on your form, have that mind-muscle connection to focus on the right muscle at the right time and keep your body in the proper position. That's really meditative.
And also breathe appropriately through it, like with each movement, like on the exertion, like all of that.
That takes an immense amount of focus. Yeah. So like as much as it takes physical strength, like that physical strength is only a factor of your mental focus in that moment to lower your body, not let the weight crush you, not let yourself get overrun with like fear or emotions when you're lowering yourself, and then digging deep and squatting the weight back up as an example. That's just one example, but like that is meditative in nature. It's very intentional and it requires an immense amount of focus. So we were going to pair like classes that focus on stuff like that with meditation like practices, both during and beginning, both before, during, and after the actual workout itself. We were going to do ones like our HIIT workouts, our plyo workouts, which we just mentioned are like the most intense workouts that I've ever done. those are like going to be more like rah affirmation based classes where it's about like overcoming. It's not necessarily about like being super intentional. It's about like just pushing through, building resilience, having that willpower and digging really deep. And other classes as well. So it was like, again, around the physical and the mental component.
And I feel like at that point too, like we started to like pull away from the couple. Don't you think? Because it was like more like focused on like, okay, individuals.
Yeah. Well, I kind of felt like the couples thing was like maybe a main differentiator, but the other stuff was offering for other people too who weren't. Because I was getting a lot of people going, well, are you going to do it? Can you do this like not for couples?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you allow for no couples? I was like, sure. Yeah. And then I started like come up with offerings for that. So, we then, of course, got a location for the gym, signed a lease for it. We've had this conversation countless times. The lease fell through, and again now the building is under foreclosure. It's just been sitting there. They're just sitting there. There's nobody over there ever. I've never seen anybody over there. I'm like, what's going to happen with that place?
I know.
I don't know. So
it's just a shell right now.
So I had already quit my job.
Yeah.
I quit my job the week that we signed the lease. Is the bottom line.
Yeah.
We signed the lease. I quit my job. I was like, I'm free, and we were like, we're gonna be building this thing out in early next year, and we're going to be launched. Like, our plan was like have a gym right now at this point, be ready, like probably right now, like be like filling it up. That was sort of like the timeline for it.
Yeah, because that was what, August of 24?
I signed it in June.
Okay.
Of 23.
Yeah. Okay.
So like we knew that it was going to be like maybe it was supposed to be like 3 to 6 months before we start build out. Then our build out was going to be like another 3 to 5 months. That, of course, like I didn't expect it to really come to that, but like that was sort of like the plan. And then like at about a year, we would be like open and like getting people in the door. But of course, again, that fell through. But again, I quit my job. I mentioned before they let me stay till the end of the year. So I quit it in June, like end of June, early July. And then they said, yeah, you could stick through December. And then I left my job in the corporate world and as a sales coach on New Year's Eve, effectively. But during that interim, there was no more lease. So I was leaving my job to open a gym that like didn't exist.
Exactly.
And
next pivot.
So that's okay.
Now it's like the pressure of like, fuck, like, okay, now how am I going to make money?
So we've gone from business to franchise to gym franchise to Paradise Fitness to True Fitness and Focus. And now there's no gym whatsoever. There's no lease. I'm about to leave my job and I need to figure something out. So at the time, we were thinking, well, we still need to find a location, a commercial location. And we still had our realtor on the hunt looking for a space. I knew that this meant, like, because it took us a year from when I first started looking for a location to get a lease. So I knew that, like, we were looking at a really long time to get something moving in terms of, like, finding a place, especially that, like, fit our needs. Yeah. So I was like, I got to do something in the meantime. I can't just wait around to find a location. So I guess I can get a lot of experience personal training and getting some of that under my belt. Maybe I was like, maybe I'll make money. I don't really know. Like, it's really for me just to start to like pivot myself mentally and emotionally, like into a fitness and focused direction. But like, I was like, I guess like we'll just see how it goes. Yeah. Again, like I'll learn, I'll maybe make money, and in the meantime, I'm looking for a location for a gym. And then I read $100 Million Leads by Alex Hormozy, and he has like an 8-step process to like generate as many leads for your business as possible. And I did step number 1, which was text everybody in your friends like everybody in your phone, basically, like every contact you had, like text everybody and like tell them what you're up to and like like say basically like, hey, I can either help you or if you know anybody, like let me know. I did that over the course of like 2 weeks. I like sent a bunch of texts out, and the next thing I knew, I've said this before, I had more clients than I knew what to do with.
Yeah. You only did step 1?
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, I know. I didn't even have to get to step 2. And I read the whole book, and that was the only book I like read last year. Actually, I listened to it. I can't say I read it. That's not true. I listened to it.
Keep yourself honest.
Yeah, I listened to it. Unlike now, where I'm almost down 7 books in 7 weeks. For real.
That's awesome.
I know.
That's awesome.
So did that. In the course of like 2 months, like, so I sent those texts out, and then I had to like schedule my sales calls, essentially, like my consultation calls, and I had to like spread those out because I had so many of them. I had to spread them out over like a month or two, and then like I took all those people and I had to put them through like their onboarding and then like check in with them. So again, I'll spare everybody the details because I've talked about this 1,000 times, but like I went from 0 clients on January 1st to like by the end of February, I had like over 20 clients, and I had all of them were like paying me. I don't even think at this point, I think there's, of everybody that I've pitched, there's 2 people that didn't sign up with me.
Yeah.
And which is like pretty cool. It also means that I probably could have charged a lot more, and I probably should have charged a lot more. But like that went really well. But I was also kind of like, well, I'm running all over the map to train these people. I don't have a facility of my own. I know that in order for these people to get the value, or for me to be successful long-term, scale this thing effectively, make it so I'm not just selling time for money, like hour for hour to people. And the way I should point out, the way I structured this business was I understand what the client's goals are. I build out a plan for them, a diet, workout, fit, like everything, and I give them some like more like additional habits on top of that. I work out with them for a week to show them exactly how to perform all of these exercises. Then I do my like regular check-in and accountability, and like and we talk every other week. I text them on a regular basis throughout the week to make sure everything is going well. And then like every so often, like especially if they're in Austin, I'll hop back in the gym with them. If they're not in Austin, then we do a remote forum session.
And that's a lot of time and energy for one person.
It's a ton of time and energy for one person, especially if I don't have a place of my own and I'm going all over the place to train these people. And like, I hate to admit it, but like there was a couple times where I had to train people like in a commercial gym. That was really early on. I kind of cut that out pretty fast because like I didn't want to be doing that. But like I had to do what I had to do. Like I was like in sale mode. But again, that's because I didn't have a plan moving forward. It wasn't scalable, and I didn't know like exactly how to deliver without bending some rules. So made money, had a fantastic couple of months. Like training people was awesome, and it's a lot of fun, and I'm still like working with all of them, and we're still like checking in and stuff. But I was like, well, that's just not like a sustainable thing to do. So I realized I have to put on the brakes. I realize that people want my services, that's for sure. I realize that I can help people and that I can get them results, but I need to do it in a more scalable, approachable, reasonable way. Whether it's, and I also should say that my goal was never to just do the personal training stuff. It was to do the mindset. And I guess, for lack of a better term, we'll call it life coaching for the sake of this conversation. So it was to do the life coaching stuff too.
So that was your end goal. Like you started with the physical fitness just to be like, okay, let me just get my feet wet.
Yeah.
Get some money in. Okay, like I can make this happen. But now let me scale it to actually be what I want it to be.
And I should say with that, that we realized, because I got so many clients from the personal training, I was like, well, we don't need a commercial facility anymore. We don't need to like have a whole place where we try to get members in the door. I could just do like if I could have like a garage gym and do this business model and do it in my own like house, basically.
For sure.
Which cuts out an immense amount of overhead and operations and employees and all kinds of stuff.
All that stuff. Like I think about now, like, oh my God, if just having a gym and having that like a business like that, just the amount of time, energy, dealing with employees, dealing with the operations of it.
So happy. As I'm bringing on all these clients and I'm realizing like that the way I'm doing it isn't sustainable, I'm also realizing I don't need a commercial facility anymore. And I'm also realizing like if I'm going to build out this model for the long term, I don't want it to just be squats and deadlifts. Right. I want it to be the mindset stuff as well. So we collectively agreed I'm going to put a pause on new clients. That didn't happen. I still took more clients for a little while.
You were getting like referrals. I know. The people you were working with was like, hey, like my wife wants to work out with you.
And honestly, like at that point, it was like, it was like, you know, 1 or 2 a month was like okay and like reasonable. Like I can keep up with that. But I just couldn't take that same like volume as I had originally. So I said, look, I'm going to put a pause on taking new clients, at least like proactive, reaching out to new clients. Let me work with my consultant, hire a consultant. Let me like, you know, kind of get my bearings about me. We also were doing the podcast. Yeah. We started the podcast because that was something we started the podcast right around the time that like I started sending out these texts too, because I wasn't expecting to get this many clients all at once. I was kind of like, I'm gonna have some free time. Might as well write a book. Much. I was literally like, might as well write a book and do a podcast because I didn't think that I was gonna have that many clients.
I think we were looking also around that point to sell the houses.
Yeah,
there were so many pieces. It wasn't just like you had clients to do it. Like there was so much going on.
And it's because I was just kind of thinking like, I'll probably have a few clients to start. I was like, I can do all this other stuff. But I was like, holy shit, I have all these clients and I just started a podcast and I have to get that out to the masses. I didn't want to like, you know me, I don't start something and then stop. Like I like the run. I start something and I keep my fucking feet moving on it. So we realized like, okay, like let's restructure this. Let's get a consultant. Let's figure out how we build this model out effectively. And what I saw as the long-term roadmap here was I build my physical and mental fitness business and coaching business. I learn how that works. I get it stood up. I make some money with it and I prove like a particular like structure. We've talked about the fact that you want to do nurse coaching, which I think is perfect for you. I think you're going to absolutely crush it when the time comes. And I was going to replicate what I built for my business for you. And then you were going to have your own coaching business too. And then from there, we would build a third business that was around coaching couples and doing relationship coaching, helping couples step into their power, you know, both from a fitness perspective, a romance and passion perspective between them, and then helping them find a shared purpose and attack that purpose.
And we would do that together.
And we would do that together as like a collective thing. So then that would be like 3 coaching businesses with all the same general programming and outline, but just like done in slightly different ways for slightly different needs. So now here we are. One of the things that I've wanted very, very badly for the last couple of years is a gym of my own. A gym of my own is something that I, at this point, like have like this like hunger inside of me because it's something I set out to accomplish, and it's something I've been telling people that I want for a really long time. It's something that it's something I've been like talking about for an extended period of time, like, and, like putting out in the universe. You don't like say
something and like not follow through with it. I know. So that's why I think a big piece as to why.
It's a huge piece of it. It's because like I don't start something and then not finish it. And I said I'm gonna have a gym, and like at this point, it's like eating a hole in me that I don't have one. And I also genuinely believe that like for me to be the best coach that I can possibly be, having a facility of my own, having a gym, to have people in, to have my clients in, to train people in, to do content, for us to work out, to have events. Make it a community. That is what I want for my business. That is what I want for my coaching business. Because I don't want to be the guy who's on Instagram, hands you over a plan, takes your money, and then like you text on WhatsApp a couple times a week, or like I could do like I'll be doing calls with people too, but like I know I can help people on the mental side. There's no doubt about it. But like the business model was built around like the physical fitness being the foundation. And I want to deliver on that, and I want to deliver on that big.
So is that a block then right now?
It's a blocker for me mentally in terms of why I'm not like ready to throw myself 100% in that direction, which is one of the reasons why like I have people telling me like sell, and I'm like, but I can't deliver what I want to deliver. And they're saying, well, and they're like, well, change. And they're saying, well, like change what you want to deliver. Like you could just like talk to people on the phone and deliver for them. And it's like, yes, but that's not what I want to deliver.
Yeah.
That's not what I want to deliver. Based on my current strategy and how I see my business operating. So what we're doing now, and I guess this is going to wrap things up perfectly here, is now what we've decided. I had another stroke of genius. And the reason why it's so genius is because the thing that's been there the whole time.
It's been there since the beginning.
Yeah, it's been there it has been there like since the beginning. It's the reason why we're doing this in the first place. And it's like the thing that keeps coming back time and time again, rather than starting with my business, which I knew was going to be more fit. And here's the other thing I'll say about my coaching business. It's not so much that like, yes, the thing I want to deliver is fitness related and like the gym is a huge component of that. But I know that early on, people view me as a fitness guy. Mm-hmm. That's how they see me. And like part of being successful is knowing how the world sees you, and then like playing into that. And if I'm the guy who's like, again, like just like the Instagram personal trainer turd who like is doing this from his like apartment and has no background and doesn't have any legitimacy or credibility, like it, where was I? What was I just saying?
You just threw me off because you were saying about the legitimacy of.
I guess, okay, yeah. So what I was saying was, I just totally lost my train of thought. Like, if the world sees me as like a fitness guy, then like I want to be able to deliver on that in a meaningful way.
But I think the cool thing about like what you have to offer is not only the fit, like there's so much like you're treating like the like holistically, like all in one.
But if I have to start with people thinking that I'm a personal trainer because that's how I look to them and that's what they're seeing me as, then it's important that I'm delivering on that big.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right? And like if I'm starting this coaching business on my own, doing my own thing in the way that I see it happening, I know that I'm going to have to like continuously overcome that personal trainer hurdle. And if I can't deliver on that big, then it's not worth delivering on.
Right. And like when you say that, you're saying, because obviously you can give somebody a program, you can give somebody the check-ins, the calls, all that, but you're wanting like everything to look the part of that.
Yeah.
The programming is like perfect. The videos and the content you're putting out are perfect.
I guess I didn't make
all of that is
specifically clear. Yeah. It's kind of like for me to deliver what I want to deliver with like the programming, the content, events, training people in person who are here in Austin. Yeah. I want my own place so that it looks, feels, and is and delivers right.
And that will come.
And it will come. I know it will. But we don't have it right now.
No.
And we also don't want to be
just wasting time. And money.
I know I'm like meandering and I'm not really getting to the point here. So the pivot that we made is to push that stuff, my personal coaching one-on-one, down the road a little bit. I said that our goal was I set up my coaching business. I copy-paste that. Puzel sets up her coaching business. And then the third business is the relationship coaching. But what we're going to do instead is rearrange things a little bit. We're going to move that relationship coaching to the front. Puzel and I are going to be starting a couples coaching business to help couples. Basically, by the way I'm looking at it, to help good couples become great couples.
Yeah.
We're going to help them with their physical fitness, their nutrition, their diet, helping them generate that like physical energy and that physical fitness so that they're bringing the best version of themselves into the world. Second step is generating passion between the two in the couple through proper communication. Obviously, like all the things that go into generating passion between two people. And kind of like spinning up that energy that they've created separately, spinning that up together in a more passionate way. And then the third step is helping them find shared purpose so they could take that energy and that passion and channel it together in the same direction, because that's how really great things happen. It's not like if one person's manifesting something, it only happens so fast. When two people are manifesting something, it happens even faster. And here we are now. The two of us are going to be manifesting this coaching business together. I told you to tell AG and DR.
Yeah.
So if this is the first that AG is hearing about this.
I mean, I didn't have an opportunity to discuss it.
I know. Like, just make sure you tell her before this comes out.
Okay, but like, I mean, this is, to me, feels so right. And I feel like it's been something we've been saying, like, yeah, that's going to come. But like it again just feels very right. And like, I can't wait to give this to people, give this to couples who are doing good right now, who want to thrive in like all areas of their life, and to love each other truly, to like every cell in their body and just become like one powerful force. And like we have done it. So I think that's like why, like we have over the years, over our 20 years, have had multiple lives together and like so much evolution of our relationship. I mean, I feel like we have a lot to provide, a lot of tools, a lot of experience to help people.
And so what that means is like we're taking all the stuff that I've built over the last 6 months, the fitness stuff, the mindfulness stuff, like kind of all the stuff that I built out with like my Unfuckwithable programming. And now like that was always, the plan was always to like kind of repackage those things in different ways. Again, for those different like needs that people might have. And, eventually offer it to couples and have them work together. And now we're realizing like if we're focusing more on couples, the physical fitness part is not, while it is important and it is critical and is foundational, it's still not like the way I think that our coaching is going to be perceived. I think it's not going to be perceived as being fitness focused, even though it is. So I will be able to offer people the requisite level of value without having a gym facility in that area, because we're offering so much else on top of just the physical fitness, versus if I was doing the coaching on my own, like I'm offering a lot, but the physical fitness component is still like kind of what people are associating me with. And now we're going to be able to offer like a tremendous amount more, a ton more value. And I also think that it's far more differentiated. There's I don't know of any other couple that's out there coaching couples. And what that would mean is like we coach those people individually, and then we also like come together and like have conversations as a group, which is, I think, really awesome. We're going to give them workout programs that they can train together. We're going to give them mindfulness practices, meditation, gratitude, other like collaborative exercises and practices for them to work on together, things that we've cultivated and learned and done regularly, habitually for a really long time. That's helped us form our relationship and grown our relationship stronger and stronger. And then again, like once we kind of set those foundations, it's a matter of learning collectively, where do they see their life going? What do they want for themselves, individually and collectively, making sure that we get them on the same page, that there's no, we've talked about this in previous episodes, like there's no friction there. There's no gaps between what one person wants or what the other person, or at least like what the two people are expecting. And then they can take that energy that we've helped them build and just laser focus in that direction And I know that there's tons of folks out there and couples out there that not only can use it, but probably would love to have that kind of guidance and that kind of coaching. And I can't wait to offer it to people.
Yeah, because there's a lot, just the components of a relationship and knowing one's strengths, one's weaknesses, individually, and then just even as a couple, and knowing if someone's going through something tough, that other person is still strong enough to be able to stay strong for themselves, but then stay strong for their partner and pull them both out of it. I mean, you with the run yesterday.
Yeah, with the run. I mean, that's not a bad example. Honestly,
yeah.
I guess the reality is do you want to be the couple where the guy decides, okay, I'm going to go finish my run and I'll see you at home?
Yeah.
Do you want to be the couple that they decide, you know what,
let's just stop.
We'll just stop and we'll just both walk home together? Or do you want to be the couple where the one who's struggling grabs the other one and goes hey, we're gonna finish this together? I don't care how long it takes. I don't care, what that means to me. We're finishing this. We set out to do this. We're gonna finish it. And to me, that's who we are. And I know that if there are couples out there that want to be the ones who persevere, then they push through everything and they stand by each other no matter what, and accomplish, and that's how you accomplish outrageously beautiful, fantastic, great things. And if there are couples out there that are looking for that, then I know we're gonna be able to deliver on that for them. So that is where our new pivot has taken us.
I think this is the best pivot.
I think it's I mean, again, it was always the plan all along.
It was, I know.
It's just now we're just moving it closer on a time in terms of our timeline. And I know that as we get that out there, that we're gonna have dudes coming to me asking just to be personal trained, and you're gonna have people coming to you asking for more one-on-one specific coaching, and then those coaching businesses will automatically just sort of grow as a result of this new central core business, which will be the relationship coaching. And again, I think it's perfect for us. I think it's perfect knowing what we know about how relationships seem to be for a lot of people, both in terms of the dating world as well as when people do start forming relationships with one another. We know all kinds of good and bad stories of
for sure
people in our lives, and I think
we both come into I think we both really have come into our own and who we are in our relationship, and what works, what doesn't, and the different roles that need to be taken. And again, we can speak through experience. And what's so unique about it is that it's us. When we were kind of doing some market research yesterday, it was a female coaching a couple, or it's usually one person. And so again, having a couple who have been together as long as we have and have had the experience, we can work together with them, and then again separately, and then come back together. So it's going to be a great offering, and I can't wait.
Yeah, it's good. I think it's going to be, again, I think it's perfect. And that's what we basically spent our entire morning doing yesterday, because we had all these are all ideas that we've had for a long time, and over the last week, we're okay, all that stuff that we were thinking, we need to get that down on paper now.
I had notes through my phone. I couldn't wait to have that meeting on Thursday, because all week I had so much information in here that I needed to put out. Yep. And then once we did that yesterday, I was okay.
And it came
perfect.
So easy. That's the thing that I think is important to point out is I've been putting together the Unfuckwithable stuff and that programming and understanding how a coaching business even works for the last 3.5 months. And I'm okay, that I was putting all the pieces together and understanding for my coaching business how it works. And again, I kind of kept coming back to but I need the gym. I need the gym. Yeah. And it was fleshing out, but not in the sense of how my current circumstances. Mm-hmm. So that was creating blockers for me in terms of actually getting started. But then we sat down yesterday, and in 2 hours, probably 2, maybe 3 hours, banged out an entire document of like
and just
not
like
just
the outline.
Yeah, our purpose, what we can deliver, what results we like, what the
Like
entire
marketing,
what the entire process looks like, start to finish, and it like just inherently like makes perfect sense. And I have zero blockers on it. I'm like, we can launch this like tomorrow, but we're not. But we're not launching it tomorrow.
We're not.
We are waiting until we're back from Italy.
Yeah.
Because we're leaving for Italy for 3 weeks in August, which is going to be great. It's also going to be a hell of an opportunity to shoot some content for our new romantic, sexy couples coaching business, our power couple coaching business.
Power couples.
And
make you the couple that others aspire to be.
Yeah, there you go. And we want to make sure, of course, that like we don't want to launch it and then be gone for 3 weeks. So we're going to get everything lined up between now and then. We're going to shoot a bunch of content in Italy of us looking hot on the Amalfi Coast or in Sicily or at the Colosseum in Rome or wherever.
Wherever Italy takes us.
And then we are going to come back and we're just going to get this bitch off the ground.
Oh my gosh.
So that's that.
So that's the pivot.
That's the pivot. That's all I got.
And that's all I got too.
All right. If you're interested, hit us up. Honestly, like we're only gonna be able to take so many clients at first. So if you want to be the first, you let me know. All right.
Bye, honey.
Peace.